On today's episode of Action Figure Friday, we're going to be taking a look at the Marvel Legends Gamerverse Venom. Real quick, before we do accessories, my little turntable does not want to work at the moment, so here is a quick back view. Kicking it off with accessories, he comes with a pair of fists, both with a hinge in the middle of the wrist. Next up, we got a pair of open/clawing hands. Specifically, the right one is more of a clawing pose. The one on the left is more of a holding pose, but you can still kind of fake it as so. Both of them having a hinge in the middle of the wrist. Next up, we got this symbiote tendril accessory that can plug into his wrist. There is no movement outside of rotation here, but you can use this to basically claw onto Spider-Man or Miles or any other figure that you choose to, which is pretty cool. Venom comes with two different head sculpts, this one being a more menacing grin type, and then this being his iconic open mouth with his giant tongue sticking out. Last but not least, we get this piece of slobber that actually can go into his open mouth, and this is what his head looks like with the slobber piece inserted on. It's actually very easy to install. You just loop it in through the you loop in the tongue through the hole, and then you just wiggle it in so that it fits in between his teeth, and you get that look right there. Jumping into articulation, we do get a double ball peg going from the neck to the head, which allows you to rotate, look down, up, and tilt side to side. Now, this closed mouth head does get a little more range than the one with the open mouth. As the open mouth, the jaw takes up a little more real estate. Looking at the chest area, we do get butterfly joints, allowing him to go back a little bit and then forward a little bit. They are a little limited, however, it's still nice that they included them. We do get the peg and hinge combo for the shoulder that allows you to rotate all the way around and then go out this far out to sound redundant. There is that bicep swivel right there, and then we do get the elbow, double jointed elbows, and we already covered all of the hands. Looking at his torso articulation, I believe there's a double ball peg going from the abdomen to the chest, allowing him to go back a pretty good amount, go forward a decent amount, rotate as needed, and then tilt. Then we also get that lower abdomen crunch. So altogether, he can come just a tiny bit. There's not much crunch in there. He actually gets the majority of articulation from the top joint right here. Neutral, and then back that far. Looking at his long legs, we get ball joints at the hips, allowing them to go forward that far, neutral, and then back, not so much. They can go out that far. Something clicked in there. I hope nothing's broken. We do get a thigh swivel at the top right here. We get double jointed knees. Bring that back down. For whatever reason, as you guys know, I hate this joint right here, but we get a shin swivel. And then hinge and peg at the feet, allowing him to go forward that much. Get it to focus, go back that much, ankle tilt, and then we get the infamous toe joints, which I will be talking about later, but they do go down and they do go up. All right, kicking it off with size comparisons from the left to the right, we got the re-release of the Space Knight Venom. We got, I believe her name is Mania. It's been a while. And then we have the brand new Agent Venom. Next up, from left to right again, we got the Gamerverse Miles Morales, the first release. We got the black suit Peter Parker from the second video game. And then on the far right, we got the Amazon 3-pack Venom. This is not the Walmart exclusive Retro Venom. And to finish off the size comparisons, on the left, we have a... Oh, I want to say this was the Venom Pool Wave Carnage, if I'm not mistaken, with the Knoll head. We have the Knoll Venom, the one that came with the wings, and Knoll on the 2-pack. And then on the far right, we have the live action Let There Be Carnage, which I'm assuming if we ever get a continuation of that Carnage storyline, he's more than likely going to look like the Let There Be Carnage version as opposed to the comic shorter version, but I would be okay with either or. As a little bit of a bonus, if you do have that re-release of the Space Knight Venom with Mania, he does come with 2 symbiote effects. They do fit onto this Venom right here. So here he is with one of them, and here he is with the second one. All right, final thoughts, love it or hate it. Here is my opinion. As soon as this figure was revealed, I pre-ordered it. Like as soon as it went live, I pre-ordered it. And man, was I ready to put this on my top 5 for the year. I was ready to fight anybody over that opinion, right? And then I got it in hand, and he has some shortcomings that really irritate me, others that I'm willing to forgive. Overall, I think he's a really good figure and a really good Venom, but again, I feel like I have to address some of the issues here. And for shortcomings, we're gonna specifically focus on this part of him, and that is the shin cut and the toes. Starting out with the shin cut. Sorry, I don't know why the shin cut is here. I don't understand its purpose, right? Because he has a very nice thigh swivel. So what is the point of breaking up the sculpt right here just to give it an extra rotation? It makes no sense. Humans, and even Venom doesn't really articulate from the shin. So that's just a pretty pointless joint in my opinion. To add insult to injury, whatever plastic they use down here, or specifically for the peg that goes into the socket for this to swivel, it's a very soft plastic. So if I am trying to bend his knee right and I grab it down here from the bottom without thinking twice about it, it will start to split. Same thing with the other one. And again, that's because the plastic is so soft that it just automatically does that. Now I know I can easily grab it from him, but I shouldn't have to think twice about articulating a figure, let alone a Marvel Legends, if that makes sense. Second, the toes. The toe articulation is something that a lot of collectors will throw a fit if a figure doesn't have. Me, on the other hand, I hate it. And I hate it because Hasbro doesn't really know how to do toe joints, and in this particular case, the extra articulation on the feet works against the figure. He is so big and he's so tall that there are some poses where the toes will give out, and the reason why they give out, again, it's because it's this super soft plastic. To put it into perspective, I have not heated this figure up in any way, shape, or form, but I can easily just start prying them off of his foot if I wanted to. That's how soft these things are. So ultimately, they can't hold any weight. So all the weight for this giant figure is just basically 3/4 of the foot. For a big figure, that should not be a thing. And again, it ends up working against it. I can't tell you how many times he's fallen over on me and I have to play the balancing game. He's not as bad as, let's say, for example, Black Cat, which if you've seen my review, you know what I'm talking about. But it is still annoying and terrible. I had him on my shelf as my definitive Venom because I really, really like this design. Again, I was super excited for this figure. But every time my kids accidentally bump into it or anything like that, the shelf, he just comes falling over, and he's a big figure. And so it's irritating that such a good figure for me is destroyed by these two things right here. And listen, obviously opinions are subjective. I've seen a lot of people complain that, for what was the 60, 70 bucks, release, he doesn't have his wings. I don't care about his wings. I actually think Venom looks a little silly with his wings. I thought they were cool in the game, but not enough for me to bash this for not having wings. The butterfly joints could be a little better, especially considering how much real estate he has in his chest. For what he has, it does feel like a little bit of an insult, but it's not the biggest thing in the world, and I'm willing to forgive that over the ugly shin cut and the toes, right? So am I happy with this figure? Yes, I could be happier if it didn't have those flaws at the bottom. And then there's the usual, Marvel Legends crap. Like, for example, the white could have used a second coat, but at this point, there's no point in even complaining about it. Might as well just grab some white paint myself and touch him up a bit, because we know Hasbro's not going to do that. The addition of the symbiote effect is pretty cool, and I really appreciate it. I also really, really like the drool effect that they have going on here. I thought that was pretty neat. I know some people didn't like that, but I did, so there's that. And yeah, that's really all that I have to say about this particular figure. As always, thank you all so much for watching. This brings us to the end of another Action Figure Friday, and I hope to catch you all next week. Peace.